Hello and welcome to So Farscape.
A fun-filled Farscape fan cast by a forlorn fan.
And a frankly still fascinated first-timer.
I'm Cocky.
I'm Kay, and this is a story So Farscape.
My boys! Oh, my beautiful boys! Farscape, what have you done?
Oh, no.
Season 3, Episode 21, Into the Lion's Den, Part 2, Wolf in Sheep's Clothing.
Yes.
Which Ricky Manning originally wanted to call Abandoned Sheep.
Oh, dear.
And alas, a great loss to us all. The season of death continues to live up to its name, doesn't it?
Ostensibly.
Yeah. I mean, ripping the Band-Aid off. I sure hope that you've seen the episode before listening to these podcasts.
Yes, spoiler alert. I mean, it's a podcast about the episodes. We never said spoiler alert, but definitely spoiler alert in this case.
I have found out that there is at least one person, Heya Pines, yes, we're talking about you, our one fan from the previous, not very popular podcast that we did, who has never watched the show but continues to listen and what is it like?
I know. I mean, I could ask my boyfriend. Occasionally he watches an episode with us, but he's listened to far more episodes because he just likes having us two babbling away in the background when he's doing other work and just like a little bit of listening. So he's listened to many more episodes of the podcast than episodes of the show that he's seen. I'm not sure that he's actually ever listened to an episode of the podcast about an episode of the show that he's seen. Yeah.
I mean, he's seen some interesting ones. He's seen a lot of part ones of two-parters. He's seen at least one part two of a three-part. I think that was Look at the Princess.
Yes.
And, I mean, an interesting selection of stories
episodes,
so far.
yes. So, into the lion's den, into the fire, onto the bridge once more, I think.
I love all the various animal metaphors in this two-parter. Because it's Into the Lion's Den, and the first one was Lambs to the Slaughter, and now it's Wolf in Sheep's Clothing. And
they're going with the theme here, yeah.
Those are good.
Makes me wonder what part 3 is going to be.
Well, let's take a look. Oh. Yes, exactly.
Well, let's see what our listeners had to say about this episode.
Yes.
Marky See says, time is running out for Grasshopper, causing him to make a deadly promise. The crew hatch a plan so bad it can only be theirs, and the farm boy's betrayal leads to an act of true heroism and a new indoor water feature. Does the captain always go down with his ship?
Thank you, Marky See. And sometimes a banana in the tailpipe just isn't enough. Flying wormholes ain't like dust and crops. Takes a little finesse, but it is a real Kodak moment. And someone is standing in another's heart, about to squeeze, and yep, it broke my 15-year-old heart too, Lucy. Oh, thanks, a heartbroken Lucy. Me too. My God, because yes, this is the hero's end for not just one of the Moyans, not just one person whose childhood was ripped away from them by peacekeepers who grew up tormented, conflicted, and violent, but two of them, both Crais and Talyn, meet the hero's end.
You're actually spoilering for me the fact that they're actually not coming back?
Dude, I could... This is a, Aaron in the chair moment. Yeah, she's coming back. But here also, this would have no value if they came back. No. This would be an unimportant, right? It would be a cool scene.
Yeah.
But this is the end for Crais and Talyn.
Damn. Okay, so I'm really surprised because they played it for way too little to do that, you know? It was something that came up as a last-minute thing. It was completely de-emphasized almost. It wasn't played at all for drama or anything, and it just happened. It's like reading into a Neil Stephenson book.
Okay, off your soapbox there, Father. Yeah, I'm actually just realizing I should have probably prepared for this a good deal better, because you're right. It didn't have the enormous lead up that Zan's death did.
Yeah.
Although, the seeds have been sown, and actually we'll probably have to really examine this when we do the season retrospective to see how the path was laid before, because there's the various traumas and, in one case, lobotomization that Talyn was subjected to, the increasing confusion and
let's just get it out of the way right now, because I've got a few other things that I noticed about specifically Crais.
Oh, okay.
It was mostly the fact that this whole the whole speech that he gives is he's like, okay, I was going to, I've been like looking out for number one here, and I don't think I'm the only one here, and I do what's best for me. And then he decides to commit suicide. It seems weird.
Well, you're linking two different speeches. One of them was a speech that he told Crichton.
Yeah, but then they lead pretty much one directly into the other.
He's admitting how he's behaved. He's not talking about how he's behaving now. Because, okay, well, I wasn't able to talk about it with you, but like since Fractures, remember at the end they had the housemates meeting, and that's when Crichton said that he was going to go to the command carrier.
Yes.
And you saw Aaron joining him, and then Crais as well. I think Crais knew what he was going to do when he stood beside John and Aaron.
Right.
I think he never held hope that Talyn could be fixed, or that he would be the same person, or that there would be any way to stop Scorpius.
Right, so he basically entwined his own fate with Talyn, and presumably after he ran off with him, and now decided to take that to the end. But because Talyn wasn't coming back, and Talyn was basically a goner. Even if he did come back, he would not be Talyn anymore.
Yeah.
And
I mean, let's call it what it is. He loves Talyn.
Yes, I suppose, yeah.
He probably wouldn't express it in those terms because he's had an emotionally stunted upbringing, but that's love.
Yeah, and of course, he was responsible for the project that created Talyn, so yes, I can see him as his kid.
A complicated, parental childhood relationship, as is tradition among peacekeepers.
I suppose so, yes.
So the idea that he would not allow Talyn to go unavenged as well, right?
Yeah,
because he's on both of their behalves. Crais still harbours a lot of, complicated feelings towards the peacekeepers.
Oh, yes. Okay, now that we've gotten that part of the discussion out of the way, let's get on with the episode.
Yes, and in an unconventional move, I've got a different sound effect for you this time. It's a little longer as well, so enjoy.
That boy crazy, a little crazy. It wasn't accidental, he's not having it. Single-minded, got one job. Find the man in the white death pod. That boy crazy, a little crazy. It wasn't accidental, he's not having it. Single-minded, got one job. Find the man in the white death pod. Little brother doing well. All the detail giving them hell. We climb the ranks, no thanks. To the parents we didn't please, apparently. Conscripted before we could protest. Look out for each other, forsake the rest. Master of the product from the tenant root bombs. The blood-born fists of the Peacekeeper arms. That was the day that I never saw coming. And that man will spend the rest of his days running. With a flash it appeared from the void. Tavo clipped him, then hit an asteroid. Peel back the image, girl, no time for games. Identify that creature, damn it, I want a name. To hell with high command, yo, bring the ship about. So I can catch that man and pull his insides out. Yeah.
Hey, wow, what is this? Who is this by, and why did they...
This is Keelan King from his Farscape tribute album Touchin' Wormholes, and this is Crais.
Okay,
Because it's a track that I discovered in the weeks that we were preparing for the very first episode, and I really loved it.
You've been sitting on it for a long time then.
Yes, well, there is a verse that talks about his death, so I couldn't really...
No, fair point.
Couldn't really share it with you. I will pop a link in the show notes. It's absolutely fantastic. The whole album is a total banger. Yeah, this felt like the time for a fitting tribute to our boy who started off hunting for the man in the white death pod.
Yes.
So, yes. Let's grab our gifs and into the episode. Well, no, I'm going to do the right sound effect anyway.
Prepare to Starburst.
Come on. Oh, no. Talyn Starburst. Oh, it's bringing me right back down again. Okay. As befits a part 2, we open...
Recap.
Yeah. A nice long one. Like, there's a lot being set up again.
Yeah, it goes back all the way to Yench to describe the situation with the bracelets. Crais and his relationship with the lady, a little bit of the history on the wormholes, so that everybody knows what exactly we were up to.
What I really loved about this recap is you can follow Scorpius's sort of descent from magnanimity down to desperation, and then Crais
annoyance, and then, okay, now he's had enough.
You give me what I want, and I swear I will keep you alive so that you can witness your homeworld's destruction.
Yeah.
He's had it. And I mean, like, he's doing a lot of smacking John around and not doing a lot of flinching himself.
Well, he's a tough bastard,
I guess he is, yeah.
He could also be smacking himself.
Yeah.
Or breaking his own fingers or so, just as a show of power.
Yeah.
But I guess that would look a little bit...
I would say that it's better to feel the pain of breaking your finger and not actually having a broken finger than it is to feel the pain of breaking a finger and having a broken finger.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, yeah, it's not something that I love.
Although
to think about.
in a deliciously petty move, John really gets a bit of his comeuppance by smashing his own head against the bulkhead.
And it's just off screen. Off screen, you hear me go, "Ow!"
Yes.
Yeah, this is another one of those sort of cliffhangers that ends on a really intense scene and picks up in that scene, and it sort of deflates. Like, it's not as if anything is really resolved at this point. It's just, this is Scorpius's level of bullying where he's at.
He's basically going, okay, I'm done, like, pussyfooting around you. You will be producing results, or we will be revisiting the terms of our agreement.
But he ends the scene, Scorpius does, without receiving anything from John in return. Like, he is just telling John how he feels, and that's it. Versus you were usually expecting that, okay, they've created this situation where John has no choice but to, like, accede or lie or whatever, but he didn't do any of that.
I guess it's just, like, basically his way of motivating his subordinates.
Yeah,
which is like, you know, I mean, we've seen him do that before. He lays down the law, he puts down a threat, and expects people to do better afterwards. And if they don't, then the real consequences come. These little meetings aren't about, like, dishing out consequences or punishment. They are about, like, telling people what the expectations are and making sure that they know how to do their job.
The Scorpius School of Management.
Right, yes.
Which evidently has not garnered him a lot of fans.
No, not hardly.
Which may also just be fundamental, like, Peacekeeper racism, right? He's brought in a bunch of aliens to work on this project with him, which...
Yes. I mean, we see, especially in the flashback, we see a lot of disdain from the officers who are very much not happy with goings-on. But we cut to John and Aaron having a little talk about the fact that basically John is explaining to her what Scorpius just did and how Scorpius threatened them, and they decide to go and have a little... head-to-head in the steam room, which is, I believe, is because there's no listening devices there.
Yeah. Somehow it's this magical steam room where you keep all your clothes on.
It's the American Gladiator arena where...
Yes, at least without the sort of chainsaw or flamethrower armed gentleman. Do you remember what that?
Right, yes. I remember him. That was weird.
Yeah. So they're all keeping their clothes on. Alas, nobody's wearing those wonderful, wonderful pajamas that they had in the previous...
And it turns out that everybody else is there as well. Everybody's having a family meeting or a shipmates meeting.
I thought this is really well set up because Crichton and Aaron and Crais, they walk in on the rest of them having a meeting and they all think that, okay, so we're all agreed. And then Crichton goes, wait, hold on, I think we're having two different meetings.
Yeah.
Because they're talking about escaping.
Yes.
And he's talking about blowing it the fuck up.
Yeah, that's the only thing we've got left. I tried delaying him. He's not... no, that actually comes later, I think. But yeah, basically it comes out... Right. I tried delaying him. That's not working. Okay, now we have to do is blow up the command carrier. And yeah, everybody else goes like, oh, we were just going to go escape. But, you know, blowing up a command carrier might as well if we can.
Do you see Tiana laughing? Like, just the absurdity of it.
How we can stick a banana in the tailpipe. I do not care how we do it, but we do it.
Well, okay, so I've got my own pet theory about that.
Oh.
Because John says something about, like, sticking a banana up the tailpipe. Right before Tiana laughs. And I'm just thinking, like, okay, like, translator microbes here would have a hard time, like, translating that kind of metaphor.
I think they would have a very easy time of it. I think everyone would completely get what you were talking about.
Well, maybe they're not so high on combustion engines with tailpipes here on the Bari, and therefore, like, it would be seen as a more literal translation of, like, sticking a bit of fruit up someone's ass, which would explain Tiana laughing. So that's my own little headcanon about what's happening in that scene there.
I love it. I mean, it's a really interesting, like, set of reactions because you see Aaron and Crais just awestruck.
Yes.
Because as far as they're concerned, like, you might as well be talking about blowing up a planet. right? There's 50,000 people. That's a decent-sized country.
Small city.
Right? An island.
Yeah.
Right? You have... I mean...
Which is nothing for peacekeepers. Peacekeepers wouldn't hesitate twice to blow a city up with 50,000 people in it. That would be small change.
Sure, but it's different when it's your city.
No, I get that, yeah.
Your home.
No, I get that, yeah.
Right? It's a cognitive dissonance. You're absolutely right. Like, they have done far worse to other population centres, but this is us. They know every inch of those hallways.
Yeah. There's women and children aboard, like they ever... Like,
yeah, that's something that...
well, yeah, that's what happens with cities. You know,
Aaron points out, and so John says, well, we'll have to come up with some plan. And here as well, you see Crais, like... I mean, it'll be interesting to rewatch this. It certainly was for me. What's he thinking in these moments? Because he already knows that this is the only real possible action against. So now that John has said, okay, we have to blow it up. Okay, so the human is caught up with the necessity, so it's becoming real.
Yes.
I guess it's that thing, like, he knew what to do, but I don't think that he's ever really confronted his mortality before.
Crais, you mean?
Crais, yeah. You don't know how you'll face your end until you face it.
Yeah, fair point. I mean, yeah, Rigel and Dargo are an easy sell on this plan. Oh, we get to blow up a command carrier. That's fine.
I think both of them also think that it's very far-fetched.
Right,
exactly.
but they don't have any qualms with it.
Yeah.
We can, like, run away, blow it up. Why not both?
Actually, Rigel says that he saw what could be done with wormhole weapons.
Even if by some wild miracle I manage to regain my throne, I won't hold it for long if the Peacekeepers have this technology. I know what horrible destruction wormholes can wreak. Nobody should wield such power. Nobody.
And he doesn't even add unless I'm wielding it. So that's like a real mental development for Rigel.
Really well done.
Yeah.
No one can wield this power.
No, he takes that very well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very mature of Rigel. Yeah, first cockblock attempt from Lieutenant What's-His-Face as Crais tries to get on board Talyn.
Yeah, I'm going to have to figure out what this fella's name is because it's a guard...
Just call him Tarkin or something. He kind of...
He has a... I mean, we've recently visited the Czech Republic. He has what sounds to me like a Czech accent, or a person who speaks Czech as first language.
Some sort of Slav distinction. Yes, I can see that.
There is no reason to deny me access.
Scorpius's orders are my reason.
He seems to really enjoy informing Crais that he has orders from Scorpius.
Yes, which is interesting. That Crais never confronts Scorpius with that, but I guess he doesn't want to alert him to the fact that he's up to something.
Okay, it's been 22 episodes, 20 whatever years since I've seen this episode, and I just had a thought. If this guard hadn't been here, Crais would have initiated Starburst right then and there.
Probably,
that's what he was going to do.
Right.
He was just going to go on board
and do it. Yeah, and not tell anybody else.
Not hold a speech. Not hold a. Just do it.
Yeah. Oh, that's a very good point.
Whoa.
That hadn't occurred to me yet.
Because why else would he be going? Right.
Yeah. Other than making preparations, but story-wise, that's not interesting.
No, but during the meeting, he said, "Well, we'll need information about all the modifications and da-da-da-da." That's just bull crap. Like Dren. Bull Frel. That's... He's just stalling.
Frel.
Yeah, that's the one. No, she said...
Freldren.
I do so love people who don't natively speak a particular language and then very impassionedly, like, trying to do swearing in it. Which is... I mean, it's never funny to make fun of somebody else trying to speak your language, but I love how English speakers, when they try to speak a swear in Dutch... they rely on sort of the English patterns of swearing, which are, like most of Europe, they're based on body functions and sex acts and nudity.
Netherlands is diseases for some reason.
Yeah, Dutch swearing is a bad disease. Those are the really bad ones. Like, we can say the F-bomb and the S-bomb, like, those are just words that people say on television. It's fine if your children say... It's totally fine. But you don't say the C word.
No.
Ugh. Sorry, losing track here.
And with the C word, we're not talking about the C word which Americans talk about when they talk about the C word.
Or even the other C word. I don't know which one, but I'm sure that
there's a C word that Australians toss around very casually.
Oh yes, which is synonymous with mate.
Right, which is really not done in America to use that C word.
Right.
We're talking about a disease that starts with a C.
I'm thinking about it now. So we've got... I mean, the C word is, in this case, the Dutch word for cancer. And there's devastating, which is typhoid. Typhus is also typhoid. There's a lot of typhoid in Dutch swearing.
Typhus. Yes, there is. I mean, I guess it was doing the way around. Yeah.
Cholera.
Yeah, that's a clear layer. It's cholera. Cholera. Yeah.
And then you can combine them, and you can have various, jobs associated with them. Listen, anyway, okay.
So we go back to a scene with John and Harvey back in their World War II thing, and they're playing games, and John keeps losing.
Yeah, first they're playing chess.
Yes.
Where Harvey almost effortlessly places him in check and he knocks over his king. And then the next one they're playing checkers.
Yeah.
Where
John tries to take back his move and Harvey goes,
Hey, took your hand off.
And it's like...
and then they're playing Go Fish.
Yes.
Like, it's just how do you play Go Fish?
I don't know. I don't know the rules. I think it's like you have to ask if your opponent has a particular card.
Got any sixes?
Go fish!
Right, and but doesn't mean you won. That just means I don't have those cards, and now you have the fourth. And I don't know.
It seems like he won. It seems like he won because that would be the pattern for this gag. Because what he's asking Harvey is, would Scorpius do it? Would Scorpius spend 60 cycles and all of these resources just to blow up a planet of someone who wronged him, namely,
me,
fulfilling...
Yes.
Because that seems like such a wasteful effort. There's
that
no...
doesn't gel with me with what Scorpius is like.
No. And that's what we do discover in the end.
Yes.
He even says, what would be the purpose?
Yeah, it's a good threat, but it's not a threat that makes sense to fill out.
Yes. That's what I want to do now. Before you've ruined it for me, but after you've ruined it for me, I don't care.
No, and it's not going to be a deterrent to anybody else because it's not nowhere near the Peacekeeper territories or the Uncharted territories. So who cares? Nobody would know about it. It would just be petty vengeance against someone who's dead at that point. So,
but Harvey has an interesting perspective on it. He still has the sort of emotional matrix.
Yes.
That Scorpius had, and don't underestimate his capacity for revenge, because the same argument could be made for his relationship with Scarans, right? He had escaped. He's a brilliant scientific mind. He could have accomplished lots of things. He could have led very happy lifetimes, but instead he chose to go into the military, a military that did not want him as an alien half-breed, just to spite the Scarans. So it's
the Scarans didn't treat him very well.
No, but what I mean is he escaped. Okay, so now they can no longer affect him.
Yeah.
What does he want to do? Does he want to choose his happiness or their unhappiness? And clearly he made a choice there.
True, yeah. So after we get him out of that flashback, it turns out he's been doodling on himself. It's what's his face? Kokiru or whatever.
Kokura Strappa. Gently sort of nudges him. And
reminds me a little bit of that guy who always sits in the bar at Deep Space Nine. No.
Morn.
Yes.
Oh, who was apparently very handsome when he had all of his... No wonder his hair fell out. At one point, they keep talking about this guy as if he's so loquacious and well-beloved, and you never see him speak.
Mm. I think in one of the last episodes when he turns out that he's got a stomach full of gold-pressed latinum or something.
Yeah, and then Dax goes, oh, no wonder all his hair fell out.
Yeah. Anyway, wrong series. So, yes,
he's been giving himself a henna tattoo. He's just gone to Space Lowlands or Glastonbury.
Well, he's just been kind of staring ahead of him, and he stopped writing on the pad. And it's okay, so he's got one of those multi-pens that either writes on the data pad or writes on paper or skin, apparently. Which is kind of
lovely,
cool.
Silas. And they're lovely symbols.
It is. I was trying to see if there was what they were inspired by. Some of them looked a little bit like that Thai script up and down, but others are very different.
I'm not familiar with that. There's a lot of dots and lines and squigglies.
Yeah.
It seems the shapes seem way too complex to be simple decimal numbers.
Oh yeah,
because you don't need really complex shapes to do that.
To me they look like Feynman diagrams, but they don't really. But it's mostly a different kind of Chinese characters is what it looks like to me.
Are you thinking ideograms?
Yes.
Oh,
that's why I'm going to Feynman diagrams, which is basically you've probably seen them. It's basically arrows with squiggles and stuff coming from the end. It basically describes the decay of subatomic particles.
Basically, you're saying, okay,
and that seems like the kind of thing that you'd use for wormhole technology. It's one state changing to a different state and energy getting free. And that's how those are described.
Multiple dimensions, all rendered into... And, as Crichton inspects his hand and Kokura goes, oh, the data!
Yes.
So much data! Oh, I need to plug in the data.
It is all coming to you.
You've just resolved the 5th subharmonic and the whatever.
I think you've unlocked the 5th level coupling anomalies.
And Crichton just goes, so that's how it works.
Yeah.
And I thought this was fucking brilliant.
Yeah. Like, I mean, it's like his dad, I forgot the name of the...
Jack,
yes. Told him, like, oh, you have to access your subconsciousness. And he finally figures out how that is actually done. It's like, just like stare ahead and think of something else and start scribbling on yourself and the data just flows out.
Specifically, like, writing on yourself, which is this beautiful, like, since, like, the very first sort of cryptography, since cryptography was any kind of science. First, the like, I know the Arabic mathematicians were already very advanced in decrypting and doing frequency analysis on Caesar ciphers, but like the best formula still to this day is something you know and something you have. It's something that you taught me as a security person, and so something you know and something you have, knowledge locked away in your mind and your body.
Yeah,
2 things that nobody else in the universe has. And so when you combine, like, that's the key to unlocking this knowledge. Use your body that you have.
Yeah, and then suddenly it starts flowing out.
Yeah, like maybe there's some sort of feedback mechanism that this locked away information can detect the sensations on your skin of the mathematics being produced. And brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. I absolutely love it. Okay. Yes. Wow, we're still within the first minute of this episode, aren't we?
Oh, dear. Yeah, well, we've talked about a lot that happens further on in the episode as well, so it's fine. We'll get there.
Yeah, because now comes the turning of the coat. Crais goes to visit Scorpius with a demand.
Okay, yes. However, first we have... Crais has a little one-on-one with the squeeze.
Oh, yes, that's right. It doesn't really go anywhere.
Laurel, yes, no, but I do think I have to like mention this because I had a little moment of like, pause it, and I'm like, is that who I think it is? Yes.
And you ask me, okay, who is this? I'm like, oh, well, come on, we're in a really good episode. And you're like, no, I've got to figure it out. Okay, fine, well, I'll help you. And I misspelled Laurel because it's actually got an A, and then we found out the actress is called Lenore Smith, and I helped you look up who it was on IMDb, and then I went... Whoa.
Yeah, so it's like... Sorry, what's her last name?
Laurel. Dorinta Laurel.
Laurel, but her real name.
Oh, Lenore Smith.
Lenore Smith, okay, so who actually plays Kate Smith on The Flying Doctors.
The worlds have finally collided. It's all come together. Our flying doctor is actually in Farscape. Yes. It's amazing.
I watched that show religiously back in the 80s, so that's like, you know.
So I know almost nothing about it other than
it is Australian soap opera. It's
the Aussie show without the kangaroo. Because that one's Skippy, which I watched a lot as a kid. And it's also without the very breathy, what's he called? The children's program maker, who I don't think is in disgrace. And Rolf Harris, that's the one.
Doesn't ring any bell.
Okay, well, some people... Yeah, for people who don't have any context, what I was just doing probably sounds like someone having a stroke, but it's... But so tell me about, like, Kate Smith. What does she do on...
She's one of the nurses on The Flying Doctor. She's like one of the longest-running characters. I don't think she ever gets replaced during the entire run of the series.
Because The Flying Doctors was, like, mid-80s? Like, 80...
Mid to late 80s, yeah.
So she would have been...
She was like a...
She would have been 18 years younger at that point.
Yeah, which looks about right. She was probably like 20-ish around the time that was on. She was like a young nurse just out of nursing school or whatever it is that they have in Australia, and working from what's the name of the place again?
Coober something.
Coober Pedy.
No, it's not Coober Pedy. It's not Coober Pedy.
No, Coober Pedy is a town where they actually filmed it. That's it. Yeah.
Where they filmed, Pitch Black. When
right,
we watched
but also
Cooper's
Flying Doctors. Cooper's Crossing. That's it. Yes.
Miller.
And Coober Pedy also gets mentioned, but that's the big city.
Oh wow!
And where actually most of the filming was done. But
I'm reminded of Due South, the Canadian program, where you have the Mountie who goes to the big city and his previous, like the biggest city that he's ever been to.
Is that lovely dog of his?
Diefenbaker, named for an early Canadian Prime Minister, yes, where his previous experience with, he was previously placed in Bucksnort, but he couldn't get used to the sort of metropolitan attitude of, Moose Jaw.
Moose Jaw, as long as it's not Moose Knuckle.
Okay. Back on board. So did she do a lot of flying? What was her hair like, by the way?
Short, but it's very similar to what she's wearing here.
Oh, really? Yeah. I was associated with the 60s.
I was going to say I associated with Romulans, but
Oh, yeah. I mean, a traditional boy's haircut.
Right, yeah.
Worn by a sexually mature woman is an incredible look. Holy
But no, she wore a very similar haircut. Like, a little bit longer than this, but very similar cut. But yes, Creighton's betrayal.
Crais.
Sorry, Crais' betrayal. Sorry, I got my C's mixed up. Yes, finally it happens. He sells out to Scorpius.
Did you buy it in this moment?
Well, let me see what I wrote down.
Yeah, because he sells it really well.
Yes. Okay, my literal notes is finally we get Crais' betrayal, or was that the plan? Are we dealing with an unreliable narrative here? Because I, as I said, when we first had, like, at the end of Iench Uniench, I was definitely, okay, they have the plan, and then they have the real plan.
There's the plan that has been revealed on screen.
Yes, and I was thinking, like, okay, maybe this is part of the actual plan. And the narrative isn't showing us the actual plan that they made. Which is like...
Farscape has kind of played with our expectations a few too many times for us to be really innocent.
No, I get that, yeah.
Which I kind of dig that they go sort of both ways, because they have had moments where the actual plan was way more complicated and comprehensive than what we saw. Mm-hmm. But they are also very stupid a lot of the times. They're very stupid and very selfish, and they just make mistakes. And
absolutely. That's very good. So, yeah, he sells out to Scorpius, and Scorpius buys it. He goes to Scorpius and says, like, well, they're not actually planning on giving it to you.
It's amazing how much Scorpius gives before receiving that. Because Crais walks in there with a demand, and Scorpius goes, oh, fuck off.
You have something for me?
Yes. A demand.
Get him out of my sight.
Yeah.
And then he says, no, I demand that the weapons on the Leviathan be replaced and that I be placed in charge, and alongside Laurel.
Isn't that...
As soon as Laurel is mentioned, then he starts to listen.
Ah, yes. I didn't catch that, but yeah.
And then he also says, Scorpius says, well, if Grasa comes back and ousts me, which she is preparing to do...
Captain Thunderboobs, or how did John refer to her again? No, Captain Cleaverage.
Commandant Cleavage.
Commandant Cleaverage, that's it.
I love Captain Thunderboobs. I mean, she really, really... I mean, the girls are really working for her. And it says, but if you have it notarized, then it's still going to be...
Right,
okay,
if you put in the orders before you fall to disgrace, then it's going to be fine.
And Scorpius says, I accept your terms.
Yeah.
To Braca's continuing...
Braca does not get a lot of screen time, but he gets some fantastic eye acting in.
Yes, that's right. the camera constantly cuts back to him going, but miss.
Yeah.
I did everything right. I'm supposed to... Oh.
Yeah, poor Braca. He wants to be such a good boy, and he gets
At least he gets to be in the room where it happens.
I suppose, yeah. Interesting scene with Erin, who is like tending to a little peacekeeper girl who's been bullied by her fellow peacekeepers, and then gets told off by her ex-friend Henta. That's the one, yeah.
I mean, I want to say, right? There's ex-girlfriend vibes.
There seems to be something like, well, besties, BFFs. It's like, what more? I got more. And
they have definitely recreated, dude.
Yeah, probably.
Right? I mean, two fit young women like that in a sort of sexually open environment and high stress.
No, I get that. Yeah.
Like, that would not... It would be uncharitable to either of their characters to assume that they would need Philip Nectar to sort of... I mean, you saw how Erin was with Crichton in the one with the storm and the Lakmaratabi Sons and Lovers. Mm-hmm. That she's just all about, hey, we've got the hots. Here's a technique. Let's bang.
Yeah.
There's a special technique that we learn. It's called banging, and I'm actually really good at it.
Works really well. Relieves all the tension.
Yeah, now if only they could relieve some of this tension, because Henta makes a good point to Erin. She says, hey, don't make her soft.
Yeah, and
because she says to this girl, like, let it bleed, let it scar, go off, you're wanted.
No, and not only that, Henta actually slaps the little girl on the hand with her instructor's cane whip or something.
Yeah.
After Erin treats it, and then they have a little standoff, and it's just like, okay, she's just being a bitch, and she does like. I don't think that actually gets resolved, that whole arc between... no, it does get resolved. It turns into crispy fried PK.
Unlucky fried Sebastian, I think it's called it in the past. Oh, wow. Yeah, like, here is the gulf between her and Henta. Like, they were besties, they were co-pilots, whatever. Everyone in her unit has been demoted permanently until Erin has been retrieved.
Well, and I think it's mostly for Erin that she is thinking, and she sees Henta, and she goes like, "That would have been me
Exactly.
if I hadn't gone through what if I hadn't gotten onto Moya."
Yeah.
And she's actually thinking that well, there's more to life than just peacekeeper doctrine. And she doesn't use those words, but it's something like that.
Well, very close. Like she says, there's so much you don't know.
That's it. Yes.
Which is so weird because, like, 3 episodes ago, she decided to shut herself off again, right? At the end of the choice.
But apparently that didn't take for very long.
Well, that is the sort of nature of life decisions that you make in the throes of unresolved depression.
Yeah.
They don't really stick, and they don't really help.
No. All right. So, the Jewel and Rigel and Dargo and Chiana get picked up and arrested.
Yeah, I love how they all got together. Well, we did our parts of the plan. Let's, oh shit, the Rozzers.
Yes.
Like, this whole throwaway part of, like, the distraction that...
Yeah, they gathered all the information, they got all the data that they needed
that we
to...
never cared about.
No, and there's like, oh, crap, and we're arrested. More scenes between Kokoro and John.
Yes, and then Scorpius just casually shows up. Hey, and by the way, don't worry about that plan that you had because all your friends are arrested. Anyway, back to work. Love, kisses.
Right, but it actually turns out that he is, in the clear. I think that, to me, it looks like Scorpius here realized that, no, actually, John is working for him. Like, he sees what he's doing, he sees how excited the other dude is, and he realizes that, oh, wait, he is actually working. Like, there's some discontinuity here between what Crais just told him. Because Crais just told him that, like, John is not cooperating. But now he comes back into the research center and he sees that John is cooperating. And there is actual progress being made. So there's a discontinuity here between the betrayal that Crais just informed him about and what he actually is observing that is going on.
Oh, that's interesting. Let's follow that thread. Because I think that Scorpius recognizes a lot in Crichton. And recognizes correctly that Crichton is torn between his desire to resist the Peacekeepers, but also his desire to solve this problem.
Right.
Because that can get him home. And he is a scientist. He is a science jock. He loves this shit. He would genuinely love to crack it, no matter how badly he wants the Peacekeepers not to have it. And so now that I can just sort of take away this distraction, oh yes, do you remember how you were stalling to save your friends? They're already under arrest, so you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah. It's actually interesting because that presents an interesting dichotomy between various sides of Crichton, which are mirrored in the people around him. As you can see right at the end with Kokoro.
Strappa. Kokura Strappa.
Kokura Strappa. Sorry, I'll write that down. I'm just like...
Write that down in your copybook.
Kokura Strappa.
I love his smile.
Strappa. At the end, he goes full science, like, oh no, we must do this. We must, like, unlock it. And John is like, no, wait, this is too important. It's like some knowledge is not meant to be known.
It's not just science.
Yeah,
it's never
It's just science. Exactly. And the scientist side, Strappa is the scientist side of John, who wants to solve it and wants the technology.
Oh my God, yes. And Scorpius is the highly sort of motivated strategist and the sort of driven by vindictiveness.
Right. And John is torn between those two sides.
Whoa. He attacks Crais once Scorpius delivers this news.
You are dead! You are dead, man, Crais!
Sudden but inevitable betrayal. Yes. Here we go again.
That was Ben Browder's insight. Like, originally it was scripted that he would attack Scorpius again.
Yeah.
But Ben Browder felt very strongly that if he saw Crais present there, he would piece it together.
Yeah.
That would make him attack. It doesn't get very far. There are guards there.
Yes,
they were ready.
They get pulled apart. It's like, oh, whatever.
But he's so angry at his own trust, at someone that he's mistrusted for so long, and he finally got over that, and he feels so stupid and betrayed and weak.
And yet, almost immediately afterwards, they can have a little threesome talk together about what's going on and how they're going to solve this problem.
Yeah. So we get a quick glimpse of the cell block where Chi, Jewel, all the everyone in makeup.
Yeah.
Everyone in makeup said gets to sit in a cool room.
We've been seeing very little of Chiana and Jewel in the last few episodes, which I think is a bit of a shame.
I agree. I mean, they kind of didn't want to be here anyway, so it was sort of...
Fair point.
I'd be really interested to talk to the writers and see, is it just billing Was there some kind of idea that you'd do more with them here? Well, otherwise, I guess they'd have to be on Moya and they'd be imprisoned there because Moya was imprisoned as well. So
yeah,
might as well put them somewhere more interesting and give
yes,
more
I
people a
suppose
chance
so.
to talk.
They're kind of superfluous to the story at this point. So
Right.
unless you want to involve them more, you need to get more of a B plot going.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's not what they need at this point, I guess. So it's a shame for the characters, but I think it's story-wise, it doesn't hinder it.
John goes to meet Erin at her request in the fucking Aurora chair room.
Yep.
Which, did you recognize it?
Oh yeah, absolutely, immediately.
It was a surprise to me. I'd forgotten that it was there, and John just casually walking up to an Aurora chair.
Yeah.
And not freaking out about it. Well, I guess he has more to freak out about because Erin lured him there, but it's Crais who wanted to talk to him.
Yes. And I think, is this where they devised a plan of how to blow up the command carrier?
Well, this is where Crais says, I was still following the plan.
Right.
Except
yeah.
you didn't have an idea of how to do it.
No.
I do.
And I needed to get Scorpius on board, or at least believing him. And yeah, Crais manages to convince John that what he did was actually to the advancement of the plan.
Because Erin believes him.
Yes.
Erin insists that John listen to him. And she doesn't say it in so many words. But yeah, John trusts Erin's judgment, and Erin has clearly had conversations with, well, or maybe not. Maybe she just gets it. They don't talk a lot, Crais and Erin in this episode.
No, well, they might have done some else. Crais goes have a walk and talk with Laurel. And
yeah.
I didn't realize at the time, but after what we talked about, how things are going to develop further, he is basically giving her a way out. He very publicly slaps her down and tells her that, oh, whatever you think.
Tell me.
Tell Scorpius it's not going to work. Next time he sends someone to spy on me, send someone I care about!
He basically gives her plausible deniability of not being involved.
This was amazing because I remembered this very differently. I watched this and I remembered this as Crais showing off haha, I knew that you were a spy from the beginning.
Right.
I don't believe you, but now I'm with you.
Yeah. He's giving it. He clearly cares. He's giving her a way out. He's by doing this very publicly and very noisily. Everybody can she has plausible deniability that she was not involved. That her Scorpius's plot to infiltrate Crais's inner circle with her has failed, and
because she
isn't it clear? Yeah,
she was betraying him, right?
Right. Totally.
She told him that she was spying on him, but that she was still loyal. But she actually wasn't genuinely spying on him for Scorpius. That's where her loyalties. But he still cared enough about her.
Yeah.
To do this for her.
Yes. John manages to convince Scorpius to allow him to go to Moya, where he has a little talk with Pilot, where they explain the plan that Talyn's going to Starburst, and that's going to be, the end of it. And Pilot and Moya actually agree and realize that, yes, we don't want this, but it is probably the best solution.
What an incredible sort of, emotional place to be in.
Yes. It kind of surprised me, because considering how violently protective Moya has been of Talyn in the past, to just suddenly go ahead and agree with this. But yeah, I really love that.
You give Moya my love.
And her love to you, as well as mine.
And that was that was really touching and lovely.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know if you're going to see you again, but this if we don't see each other, goodbye. If not, then that was a very touching moment.
Yeah. And this is real, Farscape stuff. This is where in the midst of these giant stakes, galaxy-destroying weapons and threats from all sides and principles conflicting with nobility and sacrifice and whatever. And John, part of the plan was John wanted to tell Talyn's mum what was going to happen.
Yes.
Right? Not to clear it. It's not. There's nothing strategic about it, but she deserves to know.
Yes. Plus, it also probably makes things go smoother when it actually go down, because otherwise she would have probably a panicked reaction and might react in a way that is detrimental to the plan.
I like to think that wasn't in John's heart in this moment.
No, but it probably doesn't hurt.
No, it certainly doesn't hurt. But if keeping it a secret, if John thought that keeping it a secret would be better strategically,
He might still not have done it. Yeah.
He would still have told her, I think.
Yeah.
Because,
John manages after that because ostensibly he went to Moya to get his pod.
Because Crais asked for a distraction.
Yes. And
John says...
Oh, I can make a distraction. And he basically taunts Scorpius into getting into the Farscape 1 module with him.
He does it so brilliantly. Because he doesn't invite him straight away.
No.
He says, well, I have an idea about why my module survived it.
Because it's unshielded and blah-de-blah. And
okay, so let's get you some pilots. No. It's just got to be me. Otherwise, they'll make a mistake. But if... Oh, you're worried that if I die, you'll die? Well, why don't you just come along?
Unless, of course, you're too scared.
Because he's doing the same thing that Scorpius was doing before. You clocked that very correctly. Scorpius recognized that deep down, Crichton really wants to crack it.
Yes.
And Crichton recognized that about Scorpius as well. Like, yeah, it's all about revenge, but you also just really want to crack it. You've got that kind of scientific go fever, which, like, even not being scientists ourselves, I think we can totally relate to that when you get super obsessed with a particular hobby or whatever and you just want to fucking nail it.
Yes.
I'm swearing a lot. I'm so sorry. You're going to have a lot of editing to do this episode.
There's going to have to be a bit of a bleeping on that. Yeah.
Well, at least I only did once.
The DRDs are going to have a ball today. It's like...
And then I have no idea why they put the sort of cabcom, the communications between basically Canaveral and the shuttle, over the PA system on the entire ship. Because you see everyone sort of looking up.
And listening, and yes, that's weird.
The Scorpius and John and Strappa communicating over the, like, what is the point?
True. Okay, back in the NASA era, you've got what they call the big loop, is basically the primary communication channel, which you hear most of the countdown net on. And especially during missions, most people higher ups with enough clout would just have a speaker in their room which had that channel playing, which had that loop playing, just so they could like listen in on what was being said. And that's only the major communication. That's only the big stuff, not all the separate...
Interdepartmental...
not the interdepartmental communications.
So that would be like cabin crew...
Right, yeah, and literally communication, Capcom to the ship.
Yeah.
So... Yeah, I can kind of see how that would happen, but it seems weird for a science mission.
I like the idea that maybe sort of different sort of workplaces can tune into different radio stations, and they just chose this. Sort of like, my boyfriend is really into Formula One, and we've got a subscription to the thing where you can switch different audio channels on your computer, and it's really fascinating to see it from so many different perspectives. So maybe that's just a bit of fun that they're having.
So yeah, we have a protracted scene with them zooming through the wormhole. Not really...
So
gorgeous, but it doesn't really achieve... I mean, it's a distraction, and I guess it's played for that, because it doesn't really achieve anything other than the fact that they can go in and go out again stably.
You're right. I mean, it's heartbreaking, but you are kind of right. But it's a special effect that I really love still, because it was so expensive. Rendering water is so expensive, and that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
And I guess they sort of cut together bits from the original pilot, bits from Wait for the Wheel, when you had the Pathfinders with their successful transition of wormholes. Because they go into a bit of instability, they must be gathering a lot of data, because it goes smooth, goes rough, goes smooth again. And yes, apparently this was enough for Scorpius to be distracted long enough.
Yes, I mean, Scap goes like super excited.
For Crais to... Okay, walk up to... What did you call him again? The Slavic sort of Czech-looking...
Oh, I think I referred... we could call him Tarkin, but...
Tarkin.
I mean, he looks a little bit like...
Who stops Crais and says, well, you may not know this,
but...
Don't know what accent I'm doing there. You may not know this, but I've actually been ordered that if you try it again, I get to kill you. So prepare to be killed.
And he just goes like, oh, that's a shame. Looks at this thing in his hand.
Hand grenade that he's holding.
Casually tosses it behind him. I think it's a flashbang, not a hand grenade, but yeah.
Aaron Tarzan's in, and somehow two people in a sort of completely open space take out six.
Yeah. So up in this point, we've seen a few shots of Erin walking around with this coil of rope around her shoulder.
That's right. And what was the rope for?
I know. And she suddenly ties in true video game style. In the next shot, she immediately has that same rope coiled back over her shoulder again. She unhooked that really quickly from the ceiling and
elvish rope
and got it back over her shoulder.
Give it a little tug.
Yeah. But
they take out 5 armored people in helmets. How do you punch someone?
I have no idea.
I guess it's all Pantak jab. And then there is no words. There's no words between Aaron and Crais, which I kind of love. But she touches his face and says, now you go.
Yeah.
And there's so much not being said here, which breaks my heart. But now I realize there's probably a lot of fan fiction, so maybe we can find out some more about that.
Ooh, yes.
Because this is the last time that we see... what do you think Crais' feelings toward Aaron are? Looking back over the whole series
he's clearly into her. He's
clearly in love with her, right?
He's made many offers for her to join him, to tempt her away from Moya, and yes, he would like nothing more than to go off gallivanting around the galaxy with her.
I don't think that he has the emotional maturity or completeness to really articulate what he actually wants. Right? I don't think he can think about those relationships. But like even in The Choice, when she was coming on to him, like so cruelly, and he was just tolerating it. Oh, there was someone on Twitter. I don't know. I don't remember exactly their handle or how they want to be referred to, so I'll keep that discreet. But they mentioned that he's in love with her, and that's just how he feels. He never makes any demands from her. He never even blames Crichton or whatever. It's just what he feels. And in this moment as well, they recognize with each other, and like those words.
Now you go.
There's... Who says that? That's almost parental. It's very loving, like we both know what you need to do.
Yes. And
she can give him the sort of courage and determination and the sort of confidence that he needs. Because that is what they're talking about. He needs just a little bit more courage to go and do what they both know is the only thing that he can. Oh, I'm sort of breaking up here.
Yes.
Just me then?
There was a lot of...
Once again, just me?
No, I get that.
Oh, no, I can see...
I noticed that, like...
You're having an emotional breakdown.
Okay, so the writing style towards the end of these episodes kind of confused me a little bit.
Oh dear.
Because there was, like, a lot of people who were seemingly willingly to, throw their own fate in through either suicidal levels or as in memory wipe levels of commitment, which was all done very... It was all introduced and executed on very short notice without actually being explored in the story. It's just like it was a device to progress the story and get the plot going where they wanted it to go. But it was almost like we have to attribute meaning to it from ourselves, from what we know. It was done very minimalistically, I suppose, from the producer's point of view.
I fully understand how you feel. But coming at this from like a rewatch, I feel very differently about it. I completely shared your sentiments when I watched this, that like it just came out of nowhere and it hit me so hard. But I've been watching this whole season, and for me, like as much as this has been Aaron's season, right?
Yeah.
And it really has. I've been watching it to see Crais grow into the man who can make this decision.
Right, yes.
And the lessons that he's been learning and... the sets that have been built for Talyn that they knew were going to be... I mean, this was a huge sort of conspiracy, right?
Yeah.
Everyone involved. This was about getting Talyn to being able to do it, being able to build all these sets that you could have this ginormous environment that really sells like this planet-sized, well, city-sized
command carrier
ship.
Oh, yeah.
So, yes, it's been underplayed, but we've been largely distracted by Crichton. So that we've not been watching this maturity that's been going on, which has just been
developing.
Absolutely fascinating.
There's a lovely scene with Crais talking to Talyn, who apparently has been slowly rebooting, is being brought back to consciousness.
I guess there's some sort of time discontinuity, and that Crais has been aboard the whole time that John's been running Scorpius through the wormholes, so to keep him distracted, so he could get Talyn booted up again.
Yeah.
And, he's so comforting.
Yes, very much so. Like,
no need to be afraid, I'm here.
He's playing his older brother role.
But also being very honest and catching him up. Our friends are captured. No thanks to me. Sort of just casually sort of neglecting to mention that because of... Well, but he didn't have much of an option. And Moya will be enslaved unless we do something radical.
Yep. And which means starbursting. Which they do. I mean, after John and Scorpius come back from their little jaunt through the wormhole.
I love that Scorpius is sort of up against the side of the prowler.
You need to get your
wormhole legs.
First time is the worst.
But Scorpius is excited. He's seen that it works. He knows that it's stable.
Yeah, he calls it without description when he's in there.
And then he immediately gets yanked back into the reality of what's going on as Crais holds his farewell speech.
Absolutely unparalleled cinematography, like the slow sort of Steadicam shots around Scorpius that you can see him reaching various levels of realization.
Yeah,
like, what am I
this look
to?
on Wayne Pygram's face here, is kind of like this horrified dawning of realization of what's going on.
Because he's so far from the suspicion where he started. He's had so much elation and wonder, and now he has to get back to sort of basic suspicion. Oh, shit, he's betraying me. And even then, he has 2 more levels of realization of what this betrayal means. Because he would never have imagined that Crais could sacrifice himself.
No.
Right?
No.
He hasn't seen the growth that Crais has experienced. And even just the brief shots, and from Scorpius's point of view, of Crichton.
Yeah.
He's got a good poker face here now.
Yeah, he's standing there going,
right? He's playing this thing where this wasn't my plan, but I actually like to see you going down.
Yeah, this is like, I'm cool. Braca gets a few more acting shots as well when he's just looking around, staring around at the...
Yeah, he goes, the transmission is coming from the Leviathan. The Leviathan is powering up. It's going to maximum power.
Oh, dear.
It doesn't seem to be wanting to escape. Oh, that's weird. That's odd, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, gosh, that's weird. I wonder what's up there. And Scorpius says, no.
And we actually get probably the clearest shot that we've ever had of Talyn so far.
Escape.
Sorry?
Escape. So far, escape. Sorry?
Yes, so far, escape.
Yes.
Because like he's always been like shot towards a dark background, and so now you can see him like hanging in this huge hangar. You can actually get a complete good look of what Talyn actually looks like. It's like this
that's always been so intriguing because he's mostly black with a little bit of red,
right? In
a black environment, like.
Yeah, you can barely see him, and now you can suddenly get a good look of this beautiful little ship who folds in his arms as he prepare for Starburst.
I was with you, by the way. Like, initially, when I saw Starburst and you saw the sort of dimensional ring float across the skin and then coalesce, and like I thought, well, maybe they made it out. But I don't know. This was one of many sort of torments that Farscape has visited on us.
Yeah.
Also, at this point, I was still hoping for a Zan to come back in season 4, which she didn't.
No.
And so I will not let you go through this. I will not let you.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that,
buddy. You. Nobody deserves this.
But yes, with Talyn gone, the ship...
Oh, come on. We've got to talk about like that final speech, because there's also the conversation, like something we can do together, and just those words, Talyn, Starburst.
Yeah.
And he's like, he closes his eyes and stands there in defiance, like, I will not leave quietly this time.
No.
And boom.
Yeah, it hits the fan.
The effect it has is cataclysmic, but slow. Like, they've got...
As I say, yeah, the heart of the ship gets ripped out and the structural support is gone, and now it's going to start collapsing in on itself. This was the plan from the start. Like, it provide enough time for most people to escape.
Most out of 50,000.
Right,
so
yeah.
What an incredible death toll they're still incurring. A lot of members of a very bad sort of political organization, but basically nobody alive there ever harmed them.
Not directly, no.
Maybe one or two, but nobody that
I mean,
they're
this was also the command carrier, which has been chasing them, and which has basically been...
They've killed everyone that chased them.
Right, yeah.
More or less.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's not really their fault. Defending that from the Peacekeeper point of view is the look what you made me do, which is like argument. We didn't make you do anything. You decided to chase us and attack us, and if that ends in your death, that's on you, not on me. But
no, I don't know. I mean, this was under a diplomatic flag.
True. Oh no, that's absolutely true.
I'm sort of reminded of the Naked Gun films when the detective Frank Drebin, is being honoured for his, I think, 300th drug dealer kill.
Oh, wow.
Which is apparently a thing that happens with police officers there. And he says, well, to be fair, like the last two I accidentally ran over while I backed my car out of the driveway, but fortunately they turned out to be drug dealers.
Yeah. Immediately, escape pods start launching away from the ship, and we get a gorgeous shot of Pilot, who is watching the command carrier collapse, and of course Moya watching Talyn die in the starburst that sets this all off.
And it's all they can ask each other. Yes, I see it. That's the only thing we can do. We can just keep our eyes open and watch. That's her boy taking out this monstrous ship that would have wreaked havoc on the universe and enslaved her. And that's my son.
Yes. No, it's like...
I know. You're still booting up the sort of emotional processing core in your cyborg brain.
So like lots of shots of the ship, people starting to evacuate, running towards the life pods. There's some like...
Erin goes to the park again. She goes to the park to help with the evacuation, to encourage everyone, like, this is not a drill, get out. That's her priority, to get as many of these people, these children, these techs.
So meanwhile, in the steam room, the water feature that our listeners have talked about suddenly erupts. You get this gorgeous waterfall down the stairs, which I'm just thinking, okay, I suppose. It looks great, but why?
That's the lake. That's the lake in the park.
The lake. Oh.
Like, that whole thing is cracking, and it's draining down into the deck below.
I had no idea that was the lake.
I know, I mean...
It makes sense, but yeah.
You see the statue falling up, apparently, like... Right. Erin was quite the bookmaker and ran a bit of a betting pool on which side the statue, which direction the statue was going to fall in. Because, well, quite certain in which direction. They probably had a few cameras in the different directions just in case. Because Farscape is a generously budgeted science fiction program from the early 2000s, but it's still the early 2000s television. So all this water crashing down with one of their lead actors in front, they got one take. So everyone from the administrative offices from everywhere came to watch it. And like, no pressure, Wayne.
Yeah.
And there was a bit of an interview with him in the visual companion book where he says, okay, so I was fully prepared. And as the water came down, I realized, wow, the tread on my boots has really been thinning this season, hasn't it? It's a lot thinner than I really would want it to be. And then after the second step he took, he stepped on something under the water that sort of squished. And he realized, well... better not put too much weight on that, because if I flail, I've ruined this one shot that we cannot do again. And so instead he slowed way down and he became super statuesque, and he didn't take the second step that he was scheduled to do. And everybody was, I mean, it looks amazing. He's really proud of how it looked.
Yeah, it does look great. I mean, it's dangerous because people don't realize how little water you need to be able to swept away in. Like,
oh, yeah.
It's like if you get much more than ankle deep and it's fast-running water, that is enough power to sweep you off your feet.
Oh, yeah.
That'll
sweep the leg. There's a lot of mass to water. And it's wet, so you have these other actors with much better boots running around back and forth. And he only made it up 2 steps, but I think it's better, because then you get the full sort of weight of all that water coming down.
Yeah, and him just like standing there looking at it and taking in what this all means. And he realized that the ship is a goner at this point.
Yeah.
Yep.
And here is another scene that we were talking about.
Right. It's between Scappa and John.
Where John manages to convince this committed scientist that there are consequences to your decisions. Yeah, he does that really quick.
Because he wants to, like, oh no, I need to download the data, otherwise we lose it. And he got
the data!
Yeah, no, don't, because we don't want this out there. It's not just about the science. It's like, will be...
Very briefly, Strappa fights back when he realizes, you wanted this to fail!
Yeah.
And Crichton sort of wedges him back into his locker.
Yes.
Effortlessly bullies him back down and explains to him a lesson that, like, this is to Strappa, the credit of Strappa's intellect, that he can learn this lesson so quickly and realize, yeah, we were actually doing something truly horrific. And pointing out to Crichton, there is still a container of data.
Yeah.
Namely me.
Yes. And he, again, there's one of these situations where some concept gets brought out and almost immediately resolved again. Because, yes, he willingly goes sit in the Aurora chair to have that information wiped from his mind.
Why didn't it occur to Crichton to bring Strappa along?
I know, right? It's like, hey, you want to come?
Were you thinking that?
Yeah. It's like, well, why don't you just come with us?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
He has this idea that Scorpius won't rest until he finds me. Well, Scorpius also won't rest until he finds me, so if both of us together, that actually changes nothing. I'm not in more danger, you're not in more danger.
No. But yes, he goes to the process of getting his mind blanked by the Aurora chair.
Which Crichton evidently knows how to work, which is horrifying to think about as well.
Our crew manages to escape from the cell where there's a little bit of danger because the ceiling is collapsing, and it's just like...
I mean, that's why they managed to escape.
Right.
Like, they even had this chat earlier where they're talking about... Chiana's optimistic. We've been in worse scrapes than this. And Dargo goes, well, I was in prison for 8 years before this. And Rigel's like,
136, yeah.
And then I got lucky.
Yeah.
And then I escaped. Which sort of puts the damper on Chi and Jules' cavalier idea. Apparently, the Peacekeepers are really good at jail.
Yeah.
But when the ship starts to implode and the ceiling comes down, then the bars buckle and you can actually make it out.
Dargo gets in touch with Pilot, manages to give voice commands to the Growler to come and get them.
Weapons and shroud system and save us.
Yes. Come and get us. Help.
Which reminded me of, we mentioned earlier Firefly, where I think it was in Serenity, where the captain says, if I'm not back in 30 minutes, then you take the ship and you come and you rescue me, okay?
Yes. Let's see. Erin and her a little fling.
Henta, like this, I was so hoping for common ground to be found between them, but there isn't.
No, it was kind of clear that everything had been branching away from common ground. It's like at their first meeting, they were like, "Oh, hey, it's you," and then they had a little bit of good times, and then almost immediately, when they were sitting in the mess, Erin was getting more and more realization that she does not belong here anymore.
Yeah,
and that what she did was not the wrong thing, despite what Henta believes it to be.
And what she's doing now, which Henta very correctly points out when she says, well, you did this. Yeah, well, we bought you time.
Most of you will survive. Most.
What the f***? You're still killing a whole bunch of people that you grew up with. Right? We played together as children.
Yep.
And you are now setting our playground on fire with new children in it.
Speaking of on fire, there's some sort of plasma conduit bursts. Erin steps aside and Henta gets quite horrifically burned by it.
Yeah, it may comfort you to know that Dave Elsey's original design was way more graphic.
Oh, wow. Even way more so than this.
Yeah,
Dang.
This was toned down.
Oh.
And he also originally wanted Henta to be crawling toward
lovely.
Erin to make it a bit worse. I mean, a fantastic stunt. Obviously, it's not easy to...
burn stunts are always difficult and dangerous. Yeah.
Well, that's why you get the professionals.
Right, yeah, of course. But
right, they can do it responsibly and safely, and they have the flame retardant outfits. But yeah, combining that with the makeup, this, like all the special effects here, the CGI, among others, but...
So, final scene between Scorpius and John.
John Crichton. Commander John Crichton. Generations will know that name. Because of you. Very soon. The Scallons will destroy us.
One evil at a time. That's the best I can do. Tell me, Gandhi, you still going after Earth?
To what purpose? Vengeance against you? The only vengeance I cared about is no longer within my grasp.
It's like, I don't have a personal grudge against Earth, and...
Yeah.
I'm not going to... Yeah, it's like...
This catharsis for both of them. Because for both of them, it's over.
Yes.
For Crichton, because they're standing in this hangar, which is split apart by a sort of volcanic trench in special effects that hold up pretty well.
It looks great.
I think.
Yeah,
right?
no, absolutely.
Some of the
worse. It looks more real than a lot of the cheap, digital effects these days. It looks like cheap digital effects. I mean, they can get fantastic digital effects, but the blending doesn't really work.
Yeah,
that's what you see most problems these days. And this is because this is still largely practical. It looks great. Even the space scenes hold up.
Yeah,
it's amazing for the show
Partly
for 20,
because
20 years old at this point. It's like it still
because
looks
they're so
good.
stylized as well.
And actually, for a moment here, I almost thought that John was going to offer Scorpius to come with them.
Right?
I know, right? It's
Apparently, we're supposed to infer that this sort of... I mean, there's a chasm of fire, but that's a monster truck level chasm of fire that a motorcyclist can
I
leap over.
didn't even particularly notice that.
You could have jumped, but
Yeah.
it's a chasm that separates them, and so all they can do is talk with each other. But I think in this moment, even John's hatred or vengeance towards Scorpius is resolved, because he's got his own back, he's taken his revenge, he's resolved this. There's nothing more between them here.
No. He knows that he still has the wormhole information, but like...
What can he do with it? He doesn't have a Gamak base, he doesn't have any political authority.
He knows that
he
knows he's completely screwed in that regard, yeah.
And Crichton as well, like, this is so... And we stay in this moment for so long.
Oh, yeah, it's a protracted scene.
It would have been interesting for him to offer... Well, then, he didn't offer a ride-along to Strappa, so...
No.
Clearly that isn't on his mind.
Fair point. Yes, Aaron gets a new Prowler. Yay!
Finally!
It's just like, yay, she gets a new one.
And it's an even faster one, and you can tell because it had red stripes on it.
Oh, yeah, red ones go faster.
I remember somewhere in the middle of season 3 that was sort of stupidly going, well, oh, where's the Prowler? Aaron knows how to plow. Yeah, it got crushed last season.
Yes.
Do you remember the hugely tragic thing, Kaki? And she's got a Prowler back, and Dargo and Rigel and Chi and Jewel are on the Growler, and John's on his module.
Yeah.
And it does one of the... Farscape, once again, does one of its tricks where it goes to commercials, and then it comes back after the crisis is abated.
Oh, yeah, there is no final dramatic atmospheric burn-up scene of the command carrier or it completely imploding on itself, including
Or
with a
how
ringed explosion. No.
Moya got away from... I mean, it was still a support fleet.
Yeah, I mean, she can starburst. That's...
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And she didn't have a control collar fitted, so...
And nobody was bothering to target her.
Everybody was probably way too busy in rescue operations to, like...
Yeah. Hey, by the way, just a quick tip for starship design. When you design your escape craft, right, that come out of the hangar, don't aim the hangar at the ring around your ship so that they definitely crash against, like, a bunch of...
Funny that, yeah.
Crashed against their own frag cannons. But so we come back on Moya and the vibe is really chilly.
Yes, because everybody's talking about splitting up again.
Yeah,
Leaving.
as if a conversation has been had that we haven't seen. Because Dargo and Rigel are there, and Dargo's saying, like, we all knew that the time would come.
That we're going to be leaving, yeah.
Asking Chiana what's she going to do. Well, maybe find the resistance. And
yes, and Pilot talking to Jewel about, like, well, if we do find your people, and would you leave?
And she's in tears, and she said, well, I won't be the only one.
Yeah.
And we end with John and Aaron just... sitting in the viewport on the command, and John still doodling on his arm.
Scribbling more information on his arm, yeah. And actually nothing is said between the two.
No.
It's a very Farscape ending.
And that's when you turned to me and asked, hey, this isn't the season finale, is it?
Yeah,
I could assure you that, no, because this would have been awful. This would have been just dreadful if this had been the finale where nothing is said. No.
Exactly. I'm just like, oh. Powerful episode.
Okay, now... Like so many of our heroes, we have some choices to make, namely...
She gives me a Woody.
She gives you the willies.
Ooh, let's see.
Yeah.
What am I going to say to that one? Okay, I guess my willy goes to the flash fried PK. That was a bit of a... Yeah.
Oh,
that was
Henta.
like, oh, God, yes. She didn't have that coming. That
no,
was
right? But none of them did.
No.
Like, aside from probably a few incidentals or whatever, and like a lot of war criminals on the ship, but they didn't kill anyone who hurt them.
No.
They don't even know who they killed.
Well, no. Yes.
Like a certain
but you know,
percentage.
peacekeepers are not the good guys here. And that doesn't mean that individual peacekeepers deserve something like this. But in general, you can't really fault them for, getting... they lose a big ship. They're harassing these people for no real reason other than more power or more military might. And if you then you don't get to complain about that if someone strikes you back.
They are murdering a lot of peacekeepers.
Yes.
who were minding their own business, not currently oppressing anyone else. They weren't saving anyone currently in need of saving. They weren't resolving any injustice that was happening here now.
This is true.
This was a scientific outpost with, yes, a huge military presence and, yes, lots of war criminals there. But they weren't doing anyone any harm right now. And our heroes still killed a bunch of them.
True.
So that is a stain on there that Henta very rightly points out. You don't get to walk away thinking that you're a hero. You just killed a bunch of people.
No, very good point. So yes, Woody. Ooh, let's see. I love the scene between John and Scorpius in the during the wormhole, where they go on a little joyride together. It's like it almost.
Oh, that one.
Yeah,
That's a.
Which one were you thinking about?
I was thinking about the finale with the sort of chasm of Mordor.
Oh, yeah, that too. Yeah,
but yes, this sort of rapprochement, this like they're actually approaching each other fairly honestly. They're sharing things that are honest. Which is like the elation at science and the wormhole is really cool. Even though John is still scheming at that point, he loves it.
Yeah,
this is Flyboy.
He gets to fly through his wormhole, I suppose,
and show off to the one person in the universe who could truly appreciate the scientific miracle.
Yes, very very well put. But I think it actually has to go to the Far Cry-esque Tarzan swoop of Aaron with on her and her magically coiling rope.
Her feckin' rope! Oh, that's brilliant! Yeah! I wish she'd done a scream. I wish she'd done a Tarzan yell.
Or a Wilhelm.
Oh. I think my Willy... Oh, I'm torn between the underuse of the other Moyans.
Yes.
Because, yeah, they're on board, but they don't really get to do anything.
Yeah, they don't have any plot relevance.
And... like the brevity of Kokura Strappa's character arc.
Yes.
It's to his credit that he went very quickly to the realization that he's participating in scientific horror. But I would have loved for him to have more time because I really love Strappa.
Yeah, it would have been nice to see him come aboard as one of the crew.
What the fuck would he have done? Cook?
I don't know. I mean,
actually, yes.
Probably,
definitely,
yes.
He would have become an amazing gastronomer.
He's probably a good cook, yeah, and he could work with John on like more wormhole technology. You know, that would be a good, yeah.
Yes, he's a molecular gastronomer who's with a PhD in gastrophysics.
Yes. Oh God!
I heard you laughing immediately, and I was like, he probably hasn't gotten it just yet.
No,
I'll give him
I got
another extra second.
There was a second layer to that. Yes.
And my Woody goes to Wayne Pygram.
Yes.
From his performances and in the beginning threatening John and hanging out with Braca, all those close-ups during Crais. No, I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't let this go. Because...
there's so much...
No, because this is the end for Crais. This is the last performance of Lani Tupu as Crais. Of course, I can't give my Woody to anyone else when he struts about and he's brought the captain back.
Yes, that's very true.
Right?
Yes, he is. Yeah, he is back to being the man in charge.
Yeah, that thing that he used to value that he's learned is not the only thing that's valuable in the universe. But at this point, yeah, I still love it.
Oh.
Crais and Talyn, Butch and Sun dancing
into
Oblivion.
Into the night, yes. Oh, man, I hadn't even thought of that angle yet, but yes. Oh, the little scene in Bolivia at the end. Oh.
Okay, I'm going to try something. I've just moved Crais E to like a fairly random point toward the end of the song, and let's see what Keelan King has to sing about to close out this episode.
Fantastic. Very good timing there.
And that's the story so Farscape.
Please join us next time round for a round of Tales of the Uncharted Territories, and the week after that for episode 322.
Season finale.
Dog with Two Bones, part 1. Oh, they're finally they're going to split parts over the end seasons again now. Oh, dear. In which the crew attempts to pay their respects while Crichton has visions of what could be, which lead him to a pivotal choice. Oh dear. Yeah, okay. I'm really thinking like, okay, hang on, there's a whole season coming. What are they going to do with it?
What do you mean a whole season? This is the end
4.
of the season.
Yeah, but season 4 is coming.
Season 4.
What are they
yes.
going to do with season 4? So they're going to have to like do... Yeah.
We have some
We're gonna
speculating
yes.
to do.
Oh dear, we will
that's
do
going to be
a lot
fun.
of
In the meantime, thank you so much for joining us on So Farscape. We're at So Farscape on Twitter and Facebook, and of course on Patreon as well. Thank you again to our many wonderful contributors who've helped us like buy this equipment and books that we've really been enjoying. If you want to contribute a fanfic or a synopsis, hey, we could sure use a bunch of those synopses. People have been coming out in droves. And surprisingly, not so many for the end of the season, which I can sort of understand. Like the heartbreaky ones, those are hard. But you can go to sofarscape.com/links and you can send us whatever you've got. We absolutely, absolutely love you. And thank you for joining us for this whole adventure. I'm Heartbroken, and I'm Kaki.
I'm Kay.
So Farscape, so good.